Hey people, I'm going to talk about the cannibal urge here, and the vitable. And I wanted to start out by showing that this word, the Baal, it means the war, ancient word for war. But I have a hard time finding it now. And I knew this was coming. I started studying all this about 13 years ago. I kind of quit working and started studying because I knew they were going to be scrubbing information they didn't want us to have. I was going to scrub it off the internet. But I knew I had read, that Baal was the ancient word to go to war. I was having a hard time finding it. And so I went to looking for these, my go-to, these encyclopedias that I had read some, and I posted them in all my movies. And now when I click on them, there's nothing there anymore. I can't make it come up. And mainly there was an old movie I was showing you where it was talking about this is a 400-year-old book it was, and he was saying that the British language is the closest to the Teutonic language, and he said all the other languages come from the Teutonic, and it's kind of backwards from what they try to tell us today. They try to tell us that our English comes mostly from Latin and German. It was about 13 years ago. I knew they were going to be scrubbing the internet from information. I studied all I can. Mainly I hit all the pictures first, and then I started reading. But you can see it a little bit in this Greek word for the ball, to throw, the cast, to strike. And it's where the word ballistics come from. And everywhere I looked it up in English, they say they're uncertain. They don't know where it comes from. But it's related to revolve, meaning to roll. We fixing to rumble, we fixing to roll, to turn, to wind round. But I save most of these books. I keep a whole bunch of windows open, and I save all these old books on there. And the link isn't even there anymore where I had these books saved. So they're trying to change the language again. But I did find this one, and this is as big as I could blow it up. And it's kind of hard to read. But you can see the Baal, B-A-L-E. And this is where that woe, evil, mischief, wickedness, miserable, wicked, the wicked one, Satan, to die. And it'll come up above here. And it's the word for a funeral fire. Funeral fire, usually they read it as a B-A-A-L, the Baal, a strong fire, flame. But down here under the same spelling, the Baal, B-O-L, Baal, and to beat to death, go bawling, or volve, to roll, to tumble. So it's a lot harder for me to find proof, so that's why sometimes I just tell you and take my word for it. I spend too much time looking for things that I know I've read before and can't find anymore. And it's surely where the word revolve and revolt come from. In the Latin, it was the bello. I don't know how they pronounce that.
Bello. To
wage or carry out war, to fight in war. But that's what the Temple of Baal means. In it, and backwards and forwards, love, L-O-V-E. And love war. That's somebody who travels to go fight somewhere. It's one thing to stay home and protect your land, but the Temple of Baal, that's somebody who travels around the world because they love, L-O-V-E, and love the Baal. So this last movie I posted on my new channel had some quality issues, so I remade it and put it on my old channel, and you can see it better. But you can see how Google does everything they can to try to shut down information. This has been up here for a day and a half, and I still got one like, and I know better because when I post a movie, I get a bunch of views real quick. I got people sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for my movies, and they like it before they even watch it. I always get 4 likes in the first 10 minutes. So Google's always trying to shut down information. It makes me feel good. It lets me know that my information's good if they go through that much trouble to shut it down. So this cannibal urge, I think I want to eat it. It's over here in 2 Kings 11. I was reading above here in line 15, that last movie or two ago. and I was looking for everywhere, where the priest, because when the priest says it's the American, and when the priest captains, it's the senators. And that ended up in 16, starts another paragraph here. Yehoda, Lord knows, restores the worship of God. And it starts up here at 17. He made another covenant. So I'm going to read this through, I think, lines 17, 18, 19, and 20 is in this paragraph. And I'm going to read it straight through. I'm going to ignore all these directional markings like this and these directional markings like this. But I'm going to read the word starting with A backwards. And this is det here. The VA reads as a DE, and it means determinative. And I'm going to read it as what, and it means the same thing. It's kind of what the word evolved into, the way pirates would talk when they would say what. That's what it means. It means determinative. And it's like this, this is Sammy, and this is a determinative to let you know it's Sammy the bull. It's letting you know that that's the black bull, the same as here, Nig. And this book, The First Steps in Egyptian Hieroglyphs, it explain that much better. You can see here, and this is the word for cat, the M-I-U, meow. And this is an Adam word, Adam called him as he saw it. The cat said his name was Meow, and the determinative is the lion here. And it's not just the M, but it's the M for milk. That's the milk jug. There's different M's, but that's the milk jug M. But the determinative, it has more reason. Here it's the determinative of Excelimov. And the Excelimov, this is just the front half of the lion. The power, the dino is in the back of the lion where his power is, but it never passes up the Excelimov. This is the front end of a lion. Wikipedia don't know about this. At one time it was here, and I let them know that that's what this meant was Excel. They didn't like that information. They removed it. They even removed the dino here. It used to say dino. It used to tell you what that meant back there, the strength. They're constantly removing information from the internet. But you see down that next line that it has a bunch of these determinatives here, and debt, the cry, and debt, the riches, and debt, and then it has the line where you read it all backwards. So here it becomes the jaw, but here it comes the taw, the letter T, meaning the writings, the mark. And so the mark is the same thing as the determinative. So this is talking about the war machine, and it's talking about her like she's a gang-banged whore. And you don't see it so much until you start reading it with the markings, with the backwards words. And so this is why cert you yada. You know it is. The AE reading is ES. You know it is written in. And you know it is written in Jew. And so this word Jew and you, I was telling you I watched the Ten Commandments on ABC Saturday night, and there's a couple things I caught. This was the second one that I had forgot. And what it means, I caught it when they weren't saying the four-letter unspoken name of God. They were saying the God with no name. The God with no name. And so I caught it when Moses was in the mud pit, and the slave drivers hollering. He said, hey you, because he didn't know his name. And so everybody looked. Nobody knew who he was talking to. I'm talking to you, Jew. Jewe, Yewe. And so that's what that means, is you. You with no name. I'm talking to everybody because I don't know everybody's name, but everybody's listening to me. I'm talking to you. Same thing as here, Yew. You know, you yada. And they'll say that means Jehovah knows, but Jehovah is Lord, and Lord is you. Whoever's listening to me, you're the Lord here. You know, you yada. And assert you, yod it, know it is, AE, is in, written in. It's written in you, and then the HU, who've in, them lack. You in who them lack. You don't have a name. Them lack. What you're missing. You them lack of in the home. The one that doesn't have a home. And to lay what to them. Lay what to them. L is to. Not just the people. This is what they're calling the people. But this is to the people. And assert it is written in you who have in them lack of in home, lay what to 'em. Leave, L-I-E-V-E, leave, the same when it says sacrifice to the Lord, it's believe. And this is just leave, a leave of in them lack of in home. And that's what wars are all about. The governments get together and they need to recycle that property and get more shit going on. As they go destroy everybody's house and make everybody leave, turn everybody into refugees. That's the job of the war machine. Been going on for at least 6,000 years here. And why in of call 'em the arts in it the Baal. The arts of war. The art of war, the land to the temple of Baal. The war in your heart, the hearts in it, the Baal. And attacks, and ITX, and attacks who to a bitch to. And attacks who to a bitch to. That's where the word sacrifice come from, the bitch. That's where the word believe, the bitch leave, believe, the sacrifice to the Lord is a believe. And attacks who to 'em's a bitch to. What excel 'em of? What excel 'em of? What's out in front? A sever, the cut off, and the WHITE, the white end. To cut off the white end. What mutton? What mutton a cannibal urge to? But this is actually the ancient word. I think it's still used in Arabic today. This is the butcher. Matan is the butcher. In Spanish, the matan is the bully, the thug, a bully, a hoodlum. When you cut up a lamb, it's mutton, and that comes from the lamatan. Butchered lamb. And you see they don't know what this word means. The matan, they'll say it just comes from the MTN. As word 76, they'll say it means the gift, a gift. And so I guess the king was liking mutton, because that's what the gift was. But down at word 4975, it's the same word, mutton, matan. And they'll say it means loins, with your loins. His waist, his side. Sometimes they'll say it means a rooster, the matons. But he's the thug, he's the butcher. He's the butcher of cannibal urge. Not only did he kill you, but now he's standing over your dead body thinking about, I might even just cut you up and eat you. The matan, the butcher cannibal urge, the thug cannibal urge. And the urge will place. Them's a bitch what? Them's bitch. THEMZ. Them's bitch what? The one that's getting up on the altar and getting butchered. The priest was the butcher. Same thing you'll see in the Hebrew. The same word for the priest was the butcher. And them's the bitch what? Wise 'em, meaning how or who's them, who they are, and appointed. And who's 'em? The Khan, the controller. The controller, the Khan picked what? The priest picked what? This is what they'll say is the name, and who's 'em, And them's a bitch what who's 'em, the Khan picked what all in it, Jew. And then this is where your word wife comes from. W-I-F-H or W-I-F-E. W-I-Q-H. Q means the center and H means divide. And it means who fuck. Why fuck? Who fuck is your wife. If you wife somebody It doesn't even have to be a woman. You might have wifed a man. That's who you fucked. And you didn't pay them, you just took it. That's where that comes from. Took that ass. And that's what them old armies fought for. They got paid a little bit, but they went over there and conquered a town and fucked everybody. Men, women, and children. And wifed. And W-I-F-E-T, wifed. Ashuri. And that's where the word K-Sarah, that was the name of Abraham's wife, Sarah, before God changed her name. And I think he replaced the I with the E is all he did. But it means, K-Sarah, it means what will be. And that comes from Ashuri. It's a sure thing. And the wife Ashuri, and them ought, A-U-T, ought, what you ought to do. And them ought what the cry, what the ritsum. And this is the escorts, and you see it more when it's read backwards. But it's, the ricks, the rich, the riches, the M is plural. You can just read that as the S, And the riches, what call them the arts, who ride. And then this is a different what, as the W is over here now. And that's why they do that. This is like we say what. And what means its connected mark. What's its name? What's its connected mark? And what, and then the AE again, that's why they do that. And what is lack from in it? You got no house. What is lack from in it? A Jew. And why bed who? The VA turned into the DE or the TE. And this is the why, how, bed, who. And went. And the Jew, how, bed, who. A track. By the way, a traxer. The riches in it. Them lack. Who's in all? Why's in all? Who's in all? A kiss. And then the AE reading as a ES. Who's in all? A kisses lack. And that's talking about the escorts, the whores, You get fucked, you don't get kissed. And the ritsum in it, them lack. Who's in all? A kisses, them lack 'em. Them lack is. They don't get no kissing with their wifing. And wise much call 'em the arts and where. The ancient city of that's pronounced where. It's where the city never sleeps. The place where everything's happened. And so this reads as a W and an E. And the OI reads as an E too. And so this is a WHER. And wise much column the arts where sucked. And what at lie who omit of, the U and the V of share. And so this lets you know it's the Romans. That's the Greek word for, the hand in the hand in. Where that's coming from the sword. And in share of vite. The double B, this is reading as a YIT, a VIYT. In the house, invited. In share of vite, them lack. Then share of vitem, lack. Don't have. They didn't have an invite, but they just come in anyway. And then after you read that, then you go back and you read it with all the directional markings. And that's how you know that this is ancient writings. They've been fine-tuned where all this will read again backwards. And it has another similar meaning. And all these words after this are reading backwards and forwards. And the people who wrote this were total geniuses. They were way smarter than me. It takes everything I got just to be able to read this. There's no way I could write a line of this. I would have had to grow up writing this in order to do this. And so it's kind of mild, when you read it straight through. And it's not till you read it with all the directional markings, that's when it becomes a gang-banged whore. And then it's what hubs, HBZ hubs. And hubs means, that divide in. And, in the center of your wheel, that's where it divides all the spokes in the hub. And what hubsums the bitch to? And that's a gang bang. She's in the center and she's got spokes coming all around that wheel. And whom'll excellum of, what she's really good at. And then this whole line, it changes up. Then you read the A word forward and you read these backwards and forwards. And all these words here are getting read backwards and forwards until you get this line. Then all this reads backwards all the way up to here before you start here again. That was total genius, and it gives it another meaning and twists it up just a little bit, but it just adds more to the same story. It changes the column. The column call the people into to call mom, the hearts in it love the ball. Now they're gang banging your mom. But yeah, I was saying that last movie, I think I better make one for kids, but I didn't finish reading. I just was looking at the Cannibal. I thought, well, that won't be too bad. The Cannibal urge to, you can say that. But no, the majority of the Bible, you can't read it to children. That's why they created the King James Version. That's for the children. That's why the priest calls y'all my son, because you're not grown-ups. And just believe what he tells you. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.